Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television. This is a program where we bring you up to speed with development in the world of business, economy, finance, and the stock market is not left out. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for always joining on the program. First, we begin with the headline, and we begin from issues around unemployment. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the NESG, projects 37% rise in unemployment in the year 2023. And now federal locations, federal government, state government and local governments share 990 billion naira for the month of December 2022. You get to hear more information on this during the business roundup segment of the program. I'll take a short breather. When we return, it'll be time to delve into the stock market. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's get straight into the numbers and see if the bulls or the bears have dominated the market, especially in midweek trade. Now for the Nigerian exchange, local bars back home in Nigeria, we saw the market finish midweek trade lower, 0.16% lower there. The all-share index settled at 52,615.51. Looking at the activity chart, a total volume of 218 million shares worth 4.5 billion naira changed hands in 3,377 transactions on the floor of the local bars. The equity cap settled at 28.65 trillion naira. Now it's the penultimate trade for the week. A lot of market watchers are looking forward to see if the market will turn into the green territory for Thursday. The Nigerian stock market closes the trading at about 2:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Now let's go over to other African buzzes. Will bring you updates on the program. The JSE, Africa's largest exchange, and the GSA in Ghana. So we have a mixed bag here. It's red in Johannesburg and it's green in Accra. So we are seeing 0.05% higher, 0.15% lower there. Now both economies had a fair share of some level of turbulence, especially in the year 2022. In Ghana, there was a lot of battle around the IMF facility. In South Africa, it is still ongoing. The President Cyril Ramaphosa, had to cancel his trip to Davos 2023 as a result of the energy crisis in South Africa. Now let's move over to Wall Street in the United States, where stock futures traded lower Thursday as investors awaited economic data and speeches from the Federal Reserve leader. So it's a sea of red over here in Wall Street, from the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite, all staying largely in red zone. And it's a whole lot of issues. We saw inflation in the US cooling, inflation in the UK cooling, and also inflation in Nigeria easing. However, investors are still looking forward to what will the Federal Reserve do? What will the Federal Reserve say? Those are some of the factors that is influencing what we are seeing in the stock market. In the European street, markets retreated Thursday, tracking weaker global sentiment as investors gauge the economic outlook, a topic high on the agenda at the World Economic Forum. So the bears are also dominating in the Eurozone, from the FTSE 100 in the UK, the CAC 40 in France, and the German DAX, all staying largely red. Let's go over now to the Asia Pacific region, where stocks are mostly higher, at least for mainland China, the Shanghai Composite, and in South Korea, the Kospi 0.51% higher. However, in Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 of Japan down 1.44%. Now, Hong Kong and Australia are slated to post their unemployment rate reading for December and October to December, respectively. Remember, economic data is one of the key cues that investors in the market watchers look forward to. Let's go now to the commodities prices straight. Oil markets, the Brent crude, international benchmark for crude oil, down 1.05% there, $84, as you can see there. Now, few Fed officials signaled on Wednesday that they would push on with more interest rate hikes, while Philadelphia Fed President Patrick Harker and Dallas Fed President Lori Logan said they supported a slower pace of tightening. For the bullion, the yellow metal gold $1,913 per ounce, up 0.50%. For agro-commodities, cocoa and palm oil are in the green, and we have wheat staying in the red zone. So it's also a mixed bag here, but we have more of green sentiment in the commodity chart. For the cryptocurrency market, we are seeing the Bitcoin is still staying significantly at $20,000 mark. Remember, there was a time the world's largest digital token was hit as high as $68,000, but we have $20,797 here. For Ethereum, $1,528, and for the Binance coin, coming down from the $300 point we saw yesterday, $290, up 0.97%. Those are the numbers we have for you on the program. Trust us to always crunch these numbers with you. We are seeing a little bit of more red in the stock market as opposed to having more green. So as we hear more comments from Fed officials, we expect the market to also react to that. Don't forget, earnings reports are also rolling in. The markets are also looking forward to that to gauge the health of the economy in the United States. Now let's bring you a roundup of business stories. Take a listen.
The Nigerian Economic Summit The Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, has projected the unemployment rate in Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, to rise to 37% in 2023. This means that the projected unemployment rate is about 4 percentage points higher than the National Bureau of Statistics data of 33.3% as of 2020. In its latest 2023 macroeconomic outlook report titled Nigeria in Transition, Recipes for Shared Prosperity, the Private Policy Advocacy Group said the projected rate and the poverty headcount will amplify to 45%. The report also revealed that the inflation rate will average 20.5% in 2023, adding that the country's gross domestic growth rate will moderate to 2.98%. The think tank group further said economic growth will be subdued in 2023 due to strains on investment and low productivity in critical sectors. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, has disclosed that it shared a total of 990.189 billion naira to the three tiers of government as Federation allocation for the month of December 2022. The amount is inclusive of gross statutory revenue, value-added tax, VAT, exchange gain, and electronic money transfer levies. This represents a 9.8% increase when compared to the 902.05 billion naira that was shared with the three tiers of government in the month of November 2022. The federal government received 375.306 billion naira, states got 299.557 billion naira, while the local government councils went home with 221.807 billion naira. Oil-producing states received 93.51 billion naira as derivation, representing 13% of mineral revenue.
There you have it, roundup of business stories making the rounds. Now our focus on the program today will be on issues around food insecurity. Now we saw the latest report by the Food and Agriculture Organization. It has warned that some 25 million Nigerians risk severe hunger between January and August this year. And there are a whole lot of factors that were highlighted in the report responsible for this projection. I have my guest joining me is Yoa Pera. He would be giving some perspective to this discussion. He has a whole lot of experience, especially in this sector and issues around humanitarian affairs. So he'll be wearing their hats today and also looking at issues around food insecurity, how these can be tackled, and solutions, especially as we move forward into the year. It promises to be very insightful, and I hope you do not want to miss out on what is to come in the conversation segment. So I'll hold my fire here, take a short break. When we return, the program continues in full gear. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program, and thank you for still staying there with us. If you're just joining in, this is Business Daily coming to you live from Trust Television. I have my guest with me in the studio. He is Yoa Pera. Of course, he is the country director of FHI 360. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And I really want to just give a brief background to the kind of work he has done over the years so that we will understand why it was important to bring him in for this discussion. He has over 30 years cognitive diverse experiences ranging from the World Bank, the USAID, CDC, the FCDO, the Norwegian government, and the private sector. Now, in his immediate past role, he has been able to manage about $822 million World Bank funded social safety net program. And it is important now to state that the issue of food security has been brought to front burner over the years. But now we are having this report, which is really rattling. 25 million Nigerians risk hunger. And we're speaking just before the break, and I mentioned that, do you think this has started already? And you rightly said, we are already in it.
Yes, of course, we're already in it. If you recall, late last year in November, the Bureau of Statistics, through the Office of the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, released the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index report, MPI, that did state that 133 million Nigerians are living under poverty. Now, if you delve into that report, you will see that about 63% of those who are living under poverty of 133 million are actually what you could call amenity poor. Right? And under amenity poor, it shows just simply those who do not have access to certain amenities and certain infrastructure, water, electricity, health. And when you delve into the health component of it, it's got like 3 or 4 components. One is nutrition, the other is food security, and then the other is just basic healthcare delivery amenities. Now, that's on one side. When you go to the flip side, on the money poor, of the 133, about 43 or 33% are money poor. Now, when you hit this against the absolute poverty headcount figures released by NBS in 2020 March, that this state that 40.2% of Nigerians are living below the poverty line, accounted for 89 million people, you will see that the report of FAO completely aligns. So it means right from, let's say in the immediate past 2-3 years, we've been talking about the poverty figures, we've been talking about the challenges that this poses for our economy and our people. We're talking about people who do not have access not only to basic income to feed themselves, but also basic income to invest in other things, right? Now, while at National Social Safety Net Coordinator Office, NASCO, we built the Nigeria Social Register of the Poor and Vulnerable. At the moment, the social register stands at 60 million individuals. Now, these are 60 million individuals, or people not by statistics, but people who have been identified by their communities as being poor within the context of the community. Now, when you delve into the social register, you also see of the 60 million people, about 31% of them are unemployed, they are in our rural areas, and they are not farming. Now, you go down the line and then it's also this, they then unpack that 31%. Why are they not farming? They simply do not have access to farm inputs. They do not have access to land, right?
Yes.
So that denies it. Now, that is on one hand around the statistics by Bureau of Statistics. When you come to what is happening within our country, insecurity, the FAO report indicates hugely challenges with insecurity.
Yes.
We have a lot of people displaced in almost all the food states. Let's call them food states. Because when you look at the high food producing states, you look at Benue, Niger, Adamawa, Taraba, close to 70% of the rural dwellers are now in IDP camps. When you go to states, high cereal producing states like maize, millet, sorghum, in Katsina, Jigawa, Katsina, Zamfara, and a host of the states in the northwest, close to 60% of them are also in IDP camps. They are not able to access their land in their community. Now, these are some of the internal factors. When you look at the external factor, the Ukrainian war, that meant that there's less wheat out in the market. Here's the indirect effect about that. The United States, for instance, does a lot of maize, but their maize and all of that go to animal feeds.
Yes.
They then depend largely on wheat for consumption. With wheat supply, in short supply, they're going to turn to maize to turn it to flour to feed. That means there'll be shortage of maize for their animal feeds. Where do you think they're going to turn to? Africa to buy up the grains. So the little that you have, there's just a huge attraction for export, and they're buying it off, leaving the population here empty and hungry. So yes, these are challenges.
A whole lot of challenges, and you've mentioned quite a handful of some of the factors that have been responsible, that has culminated to bringing us into the situation we are facing currently. And you spoke about key states, and the report rightly highlighted Borno State, Adamawa, Yobe State, Katsina, Sokoto, Kaduna, and these are food producing states like you have mentioned. I want you to also highlight what solutions should both subnational levels and national levels, what solutions should come to the tray?
First, the issue of insecurity or security cannot be overemphasized. Government needs to do, they're doing a lot, but needs to do more to secure our lands and our people to farm. That said, we are in a situation where they are in IDP camps mostly, but there are innovative ways of sustaining agriculture even within displaced homes. There are concepts of sack gardens where you encourage people to plant under greenhouses, or you encourage people to plant at the backyard of their homes. You also, where land is secure, to increase agricultural activities, right? By investing more into helping farmers provide basic farming inputs and infrastructure. Now, when you look at the MPI report, 67% amenity poor means there are just no basic infrastructure within the communities for agriculture and food supply to strive, right? Even where you have minimal agricultural activities happening, they do not have the roads to get to it. Places where are secure and they are producing food, they find it difficult to get to the next place where they will need to push the food out, because somehow on the road it's blocked for security, or the roads are not there. And when you also look at it, it then costs you quite a lot to just move the food from where it is to where it can be consumed, adding to the food prices, adding to inflation rate. The inflation is also not helping matters. So there's quite a lot to do, but it's not a one sector approach that will effectively solve the problem. You see now, you have to pull in a lot of effort in all of the sectors. So while you are pushing from the agricultural front to give farm inputs, create an enabling environment for farmers to back home in terms of security, you also need to stimulate the economy. You need to stimulate by supporting the farmers. So now, a simple example would be where you give a farmer some farm inputs, right? If the farmer cannot put food on the table himself, he's going to divert those farm inputs to feeding his family. where you then supplement or complement it with cash transfer, the farmer will not touch this inputs, right? We use the cash transfer to put food on the table. That means you want to also solve the money poor problem. That is 33% from the MPI report. Right? By injecting basic cash transfer like the federal government is doing. So the federal government is paying 2 million people cash transfer, right? They need to increase that effectively, because you have 82 million people below poverty line. 79% of these people are in the poor rural areas. 31% of those people are poor, are in your communities, are unemployed. Now let's concentrate on another 31% folks with cash transfer, with access to farm inputs, with access to land, and push that frontier. And then see the multiplier effect, because for every $1 or £1 you invest in cash transfer, evidence abound that you have a return of £1.30. So the multiplier effect is there. It's not only that it pushes, it stimulates demand,
Yes.
and it sort of rejuvenates economic activities at that level. So it has to be that level of holistic approach. Now, the current administration has done significantly well by establishing those building blocks and the systems.
Because I was, sorry to cut in on your thought, I was going to ask you, this is a transition year for Nigeria, talking about we are counting down days to the 2023 general elections. How do you think that will shape these issues? Talking about food, issues around food security, issues around poverty, like you have mentioned. You were instrumental in the design of the social register. Are we going to see that number also go up? Let me know your thoughts.
The numbers are certainly going up. And it's no fault of, it's just a combination of a lot of challenges and factors, insecurity, etc., right? But the good news is you have a better understanding of what the challenges we are up against. We have the data, we have the evidence. We also have a clear evidence of successful examples that have been done by other economies of the world that we could simply learn from and adapt. We also have evidence and examples in this country of some of the efforts that have been done in the past by either government or non-governmental organizations that are successful. So what you want to do is to concentrate on evidence. Concentrate on the data. Concentrate on what you can validate and verify. For instance, when you mine from the social register, you have people who have names, who have addresses, who have geo-coordinates, that you can trace them without the help of anyone around that. Now, when you concentrate efforts, and it gives you a clear database that you can track the impact of your investment. I would think, and I'm not a politician, right? I would think our politicians who are campaigning to convince us for our votes will concentrate on these issues. We'll take some of these reports of FAO, we'll take the MPI report, we'll take the poverty head count, and really dive into what the figures are telling us, shaping their arguments around it. What exactly can we do? And we have examples when COVID hit and all the entire world economy went out. What economies of the world like US do? They injected cash transfer into the economy, stimulating small businesses, right?
Yes.
We are mostly agricultural based. Inject some money into agriculture, inject some money into cash transfer that supports small industry farmers. You create a whole value chain from cultivation to destoning to bagging to selling to export, a whole value chain that creates employment, reducing your unemployment figures like the Nigerian Economic Summit Group did say, putting money in the economy and regrowing our economy, basically. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much for coming on the program to share your thoughts on how basically we can make living standards better in Nigeria, make the Nigerian economy better. I have been speaking with Yowa Pera. He's the country director, FHI 360 Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's the size of the package on Business Daily today. Thank you for joining in on the program. Don't forget you can catch up on all the updates on our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Trust us to give you all the information as they come up on news making the rounds in the polity. I am Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining in. Continue to stay safe and goodbye for now.